see, which is really exciting. Yeah. I also launched a clothing line called Bellevue the Label, and I'm actually wearing it right now. So a lot going on in the last year, to say the least, but
you're bored.
Yeah, so much free time. No, but it's really exciting, and I'm happy to be here. So yeah.
Marcel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marcel. I was born and raised in Germany. Moved to New York 7 years ago to study fashion marketing at FIT. And from there, it was kind of like a natural transgression. Like, I mean, what we're doing now is a form of visual marketing. It's just a very peculiar form that didn't exist when I started studying. And I founded a shoe company together with one of my best friends, who's also a menswear fashion blogger. And that's it in a nutshell.
You learned along the way.
Well, so I don't know. Are we doing that? Because I thought she didn't do it, but she didn't. And then I thought we were going to get back around to do it.
Tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Beca. I also grew up overseas, came to America about 20 years ago, studied art, design, marketing, business, all the things, and was a blogger about 10 years ago before personal style blogging was a thing. The blog was all about news and fashion related content. Did that for about 2 years until I sort of starved and decided that I needed a real job. So sold the blog, went into corporate, was like, I'm gonna climb the corporate ladder, this is what I was made for. And then about a year into my really shitty corporate cubicle job for a really, really amazing brand, a lot of my friends who were, up and coming bloggers, personal style bloggers, started gaining a lot of traction, started gaining a huge following, and brands started reaching out to them. And they just started asking me for advice about how I made money when I was a blogger. And I was like, well, I didn't, but you potentially have the opportunity to, and I'm really good at negotiating shit, so let me negotiate shit for you so that you look a little bit more professional, and in exchange I'll take 10% of the $50 that I make you. And here we are 8 years later, and I have a team of 30 people, 70 influencers, including this one, who's part of my roster, and we also have a brand division that works with hundreds of brands and does brand strategy and all that stuff.
It's amazing. Starting a business is no joke, you guys. So, when starting your company, and you guys can answer it in whatever order you see fit, but when starting your company, what is something that you wish you knew ahead of time? Because there's something, it's true, once you become a CEO, you realize that no one knows how to be a CEO until they are a CEO. So tell us a little bit about what you learned through that process and sort of some big takeaways here. I'll start with you, Lilit.
Something I wish I knew earlier. I think it's really important to really do your research from scratch, from beginning to end of what you plan on doing, whether it's product, whether it's any type of business, to really do your research A through Z and not just dive into it, because I feel like that's what I did. I was like, I'm gonna make foundations, and I just dove into it.
Yeah, girl, same.
And
that was
then it's like, and then what? And then what? And then it was just me catching up versus
right.
I should have had a plan, for the entire process. And it works differently for everyone, but I think it just prepares you in advance and you know what to expect along the way.
What about you? You went from fashion and alcohol. They're very two different things.
I love both. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's so many things I feel like that have happened along the way, and hurdles that we've had to jump through, and things that hiccups that we faced. But at the same, so obviously looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish we would have done that differently. But I also feel like that's just how it is. I feel like no one really knows what they're doing initially. You just kind of do it, and you hope for the best. You learn so much. So of course, there's like an array of things that I wish I would have done differently, and like lessons we had to learn the hard way. But I'm such a planner and like kind of sometimes a perfectionist. So I think going into it, I thought everything was going to go smoothly, and I was like, oh, this will be, no big deal launching a product. And I just didn't fully understand. I majored in business in college, so I kind of had an idea of how businesses operated, but I just didn't know how much time and sweat and blood and tears would go into it. And I kind of assumed that things would more likely go according to plan, and they don't. So I wish I could tell myself then, like, don't expect anything to go according to plan. But I think it's been really good because it's taught me to just roll with the punches a little bit better and be more of a problem solver, and just be like a little more easygoing and just kind of like learn things as they happen and not think I need to know everything before diving in. But you should definitely do your research and do as much, asking questions and doing things like this, like picking people's brains and all that, but at the same time, just know you're gonna learn so much along the way.
Absolutely.
And just adding on to that, I 100% agree. I think what I would tell you guys, you need to absolutely love what you're trying to launch. You need to love your product. You need to know that that's what you want to do, because all of what you said is so hard to get through that if you don't have your entire heart in it. I think what you said also is you learn these things along the way, and I think you don't know that fire's hot unless you touch it. So you've got to fail, you got to fall, you got to get back up. I know with our launch collection we made a bunch of mistakes that I'm now happy that we made, because now I know for like 100% that I'm not going to make that same mistake again. But the mistakes are just part of the way, and actually a reason you get better. So don't be afraid to fail.
So Becca, you're in a little bit of a different position, and I understand your space, because before having Fred, I had a consultancy. So tell us a little bit about starting a consultancy. It's very different from a physical product where you're actually making and then launching a physical product. Consulting is very different. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Very much so. We are in a consulting business, and it is sort of our job to remind everyone that we work with that we are just humans, who are not perfect, who make mistakes, who, have to make decisions, who sometimes act emotionally, who sometimes have to apologize, and, et cetera, et cetera. And both with our employees, both with our influencers, both with our brands, every element is still very human. And I know that we live in a world where social and digital and technology really rules us, but at the end of the day, there are people behind every single product, behind every piece of technology, behind every single brand, behind every single influencer. They're not just a follower count and a count of likes and comments, right? This is a person. You guys are all people, and unfortunately, we're in a world where that's very much forgotten, and people just expect too much from other humans who all have things going on. So, in my world, as you asked earlier, the three things that I would have to make my sort of younger self is, one, you can't do everything alone, and don't even try, because one of the biggest mistakes that we make when we started the business is not asking for advice or help from people that know things that I will never know. Absolutely. And I tell influencers that all the time. Sometimes you don't need a manager or an agency, which is what everyone thinks. You really, really need a lawyer and an accountant.
So true.
And so many people make that mistakes. Trust me, every mistake that I made in the first couple of years of the business was because we didn't have a good lawyer. And that's everything from, our contracts to filing for the business, and then obviously the tax part, Marcel will tell you, is actually very good at it. I just found out this year that a couple of our influencers didn't file for taxes last year, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? You're fucking with your own personal financial futures, that's not okay.
I think
like that.
The big point, the big takeaway is it's important to fail frequently and as fast as you can, but you never should feel like a failure.
Agreed.
There's a big difference there.
You have to make decisions really quickly,
with
not
50% of the
emotionally.
information sometimes.
Exactly, and we'll just learn from them and move on and apologize if we have to, and
Oops is always a really good excuse. Anyway, that actually brings us really nicely into the next part of this question. So each of you started out in the more content creation space, right? So it's something where you personally have a style, you create the content, you put it out there. But at what point did you realize, and how did you get to the part where you started to grow and scale your teams? Because I know for me, the hardest thing that I have to do, other than dealing with taxes and lawyers, is really picking a great team and having those people around you. So tell us a little bit about how you got started doing that, and how you knew it was not just you anymore.
Yeah, I think it just hits you when you don't even realize it. I think when you start sleeping less and then you're more stressed about what you love than actually being proactive and doing what you want to do. I think for me it was once I realized I'm for, and I'm spending all my time doing the numbers, and I'm spending all my time doing, the scheduling and everything. It takes away from my creativity, and it took away from my passion. So that's when I realized I need a team. And finding the right team, I think, is one of the most important things. And you will go through team members that don't always, they're not always an asset, and that's just going to happen. And it's always a learning process. But for me, I feel like the only time I would bring someone into my team is if they know more than me. And I know that sounds very cocky or whatnot, but I started this from scratch. And if you're gonna bring me something that I'm gonna find valuable, then I want to use it with my team. Right. So that's just the idea about it.
So I'll kind of talk on the rose side, I guess, for this one. But I'm working with, actually on both clothing and rose, I'm working with friends, which a lot of people are like, don't do that. And there are reasons why, and I get that. But, they're not like, they're also people that I respect and are also business owners and who I've learned a lot from thus far. So, again, speaking to your point about working with people who know more than you, I think on both ends, each individual brought something unique to the team. We just actually with Rose have looked into hiring outside salespeople. So that would be like our first, other than the founding partners, that would be our first real hire aside from like contractors. And yeah, I think it hit me. I was trying to do everything, and I think I kind of do that in general, like a little bit of superhero syndrome where I try to do it all, and then I just end up doing nothing well. Just kind of end up doing everything a little bit half-assed because you can't do everything. And I think just being like a little bit of a control freak like I am, wow, I'm really like self-deprecating today. No.
You're being real. Every single one of us has imposter syndrome like 10 times a day.
And it's like, when you try to do that, you actually are just shooting yourself in the foot. Like, you cannot do everything, and like you mentioned, it was taking away from your creativity. If you try to do everything, you're gonna be so overwhelmed and stressed that you're not gonna have the energy to do anything 100% or well. So I think when you get to that point, that's when you really need to look to hiring people, again, who that is what they do best. And so look for those people and look for the people who know what they're talking about. And I don't know, honestly, like when it came to hiring salespeople, I just based it off of like gut feeling and obviously asked a lot of questions, but if I got a good vibe, I kind of was like, okay. So I don't know,
what's the worst that you try, and sometimes you lose people. They're important.
Yeah.
You can't know everything all the time. What about you?
You gotta switch up the order a little bit. Every time after Lauren, I'm like, yeah.
We'll go back to
Same. I guess I'll talk a little bit about the growth from blogging initially, what then led to the footwear company. It's always kind of grown organically and steadily, and so has the team. I mean, you said it, you don't need an agency to start with, but I've been with Beca since half a year into my blog, so for a really long time. And that was the first time I scaled my business. I had like her team that became my team that helped me with emails, that helped me with staying on top of it. I was a full-time student at FIT, I had a part-time job, I was doing an internship. Like, I couldn't have done anything by myself without that team. So that was the first time. And then, yes, admitting, well, the time is one thing, but also admitting to yourself that maybe you're just not the best at everything. Big issue for me. I had to like, okay, like, you're not good at this. And then, my mom told me, and then eventually I was like, she was like, maybe stop doing that, hire somebody to do that. And it was a hard decision, so like, you have to be honest with yourself. We all want to do it ourselves. I don't know about all. I know I want to do it all myself. It's, like Beca said, you can't do it by yourself. So,
would you say that the things that you're worst at or like doing the least are the things that you absolutely know you need to hire for? Because at least that was my experience. The things that I hated doing, maybe it was because I was bad at them.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
No, exactly. And then, like, once I went from primarily Instagram into doing more YouTube and more video production, that's like, I knew I had to literally hire somebody for that because it's just, you can take a photo, like give somebody the phone and they take a photo. Usually it'll work out. With video, it's a whole other kind of thing. I don't know. There's so many things I can talk
it's
about.
True.
Like,
we can go on forever.
The shoes was a joint venture, so I have another business partner, and we have a licensor in San Diego that we work with. So finding people that have expertise in the things where you don't, but finding partners that have the same creative vision and the same goal as you, but you want to obviously try and find people that create synergy.
Yeah, complements. Yeah, versus overlapping skills for sure.
So I obviously started the quote agency just by myself, and it really wasn't an agency. It was just me and my apartment and my computer, from 6 to midnight every night on weekends. So I still had a full-time job. And then, as more and more influencers kept coming to me to be like, I heard you negotiate deals. And as more brands kept coming to me being like, I heard you understand bloggers. I was like, ooh, okay, I need to connect these dots, but I can't connect the dots by myself because I still have a full-time job. So I actually hired my first employee before I even left my full-time job to basically run things from the hours, during the day that I couldn't. And at that time, I was like, I will give up all the quote, $10 I'm making from every single deal and give them to her and not make money just to get things off the ground to the point where I can start the business. And it took almost 2 years to actually file for paperwork for the LLC because I was like, this isn't a company. Influencers, we didn't call them influencers back then. We called them bloggers because they all blogged, and a lot of people just don't blog anymore.
Before Instagram.
That's before Instagram. It was like back when lookbook.nu existed. Do you guys remember lookbook.nu?
Anybody under the age of 28 probably doesn't know because this is a short stint.
It was relevant to like 3.5 years ago, because I think fundamentally.
Oh, yeah. Was it?
Oh, anyway.
All right, agreed to disagree. So actually, that kind of brings me to an off topic, but slightly off topic. So just out of curiosity, how many people here want to start their own brand or start their own business? Oh, okay, so we've got a lot. So something that I think people never really talk about, and since we're all friends here and it's a safe space, I think something that we should discuss for just a brief moment is whether or not you guys raised capital for your businesses, or if that came from money you were making as an influencer prior. Because obviously it costs a lot of money to make mistakes. It costs a lot of money to get something started, especially for a physical product. Obviously consulting is slightly different. You get money by applying, or you get more money. It doesn't cost as much from an upfront. But did any of you guys raise capital?
For me, my first initial investment into the brand, I definitely did. I saved the money that I was making being a makeup artist, teaching classes and all of that, and my initial investment into the brand was something that I raised. But moving forward, it was everything that the company made would go back into the company. Everything that the company made would go back into the company until you get to a point where you're actually stable in the company.
Right.
Yeah, we were self-funded, so there's 4 partners where we all put in equal capital. We're not equal partners, but so we're self-funded. But wine is tricky because it costs a lot of money to order inventory. And so we're actually ordering another shipment and planning for our 2018 vintage to come this spring. We're looking to possibly bring in outside capital and investors because it is quite a large investment. But initially we were self-funded.
Self-funded as well. I think actually an important lesson I think is also to think through your business not through the first year, but for the first 3 to 5 years, and see how much capital you might potentially need over a longer term, because it will not be profitable right away. Now, the first season, speaking in fashion terms, not the first season, not up to the second. On average, I think fashion companies break even after 5 years of business if they survive for that long. So,
yeah, and that's
something
lucky.
to keep in mind.
And that's lucky, right?
If you survive, that's wonderful. And then after 5, that's already the first accomplishment. And then you'll still wait 5 years before you see a dollar come back.
So when I started socially, I was -4. I had no money, and I actually, in order to feed my employees, went out and applied for food stamps. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever applied for food stamps. It's a really lovely process. And my parents were like, we came to this country, had food stamps, then spent 10 years getting out of food stamp zone, and now you're back in food stamp zone, so can you just stick with your job? And, that's why we came here. And I was like, no, I need to feed my employees because I can't give them enough money to come work here, and I really, really need them to come work here. So anyways, I used to feed my employees breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day with the food stamp money until we got to a place where we started making money. And then about 4 years in, we're like, we really need to scale this business, and because it's a people business, the more people you hire, et cetera, it's hard. So we actually did a round of funding with VC C's, and that was the most painful thing ever.
You mean it's so much fun?
So much fun, so much fun. Really, really rough. I mean, you just have to find the right people who believe in your vision, who understand what you're trying to build. Because even in a people business, consultancy business, there's things you need. There's tools, there's CRMs, there's processes, there's technologies, there's platforms, et cetera, and yeah.
So how much did you end up raising?
Not enough.
Okay, so that's actually, well, that brings me to a good, not every single person is going to have the capital to be able to put in the beginning of a business. Obviously, you want to try, but the reason I ask that is because I think a lot of people don't really totally fully realize how much things cost. Like what you mentioned, so if you have a business plan, even that business plan is wrong. Like I promise you right now. So what do you guys do to plan for the future? Let's start with you again, Becca.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for you guys, those of you who want a product, you guys are in a very, very unique position, similar to the position that Marcel was essentially in when he decided to go into products, where besides the business plan, if you guys have influence, you have a following, you have people that engage with you in your content, and you're able to drive actual purchases, you will get funding for your product if it's a good product. If you guys have a good idea, and that's very different because 10 years ago, people weren't, writing checks to random, 22-year-olds who just had a product idea. And now you guys, if you can grow your audience and get to a place where people really respect your style, your taste, et cetera, you guys can just go out and raise money significantly easier. For us, we're trying to consistently figure out where is this industry going, right? There's more and more influencers. There's content fatigue, there's influencer fatigue. Brands are getting really smart on how they spend money, who they spend money on, what types of metrics they need in order to, book a specific influencer, what type of ROI they're looking for, and all of that really matters to a point where we've actually transitioned recently from an influencer marketing company into fully performance marketing. So everything is about, how much a brand spends, how much do they get in return, and what is the value of someone's content, what is the value of their influence. Do they have a following? Do they actually have influence? Can they drive purchase, intent? And that's really what we're looking at. Right now, we're actually in the process of building more technologies in order to be able to understand who is the audience of an influencer like Marcel, what are they engaged in, where are they located, how do we connect better to them so that the products that brands are looking to promote are actually getting a return.
Right. And as a brand, for those of you who will start your own, you don't realize how many of those metrics actually matter. But if you are going to go and raise money, you need to show metrics that you can control. So whether it's someone's getting driven to your site, and then maybe they're not purchasing, but some of them do. You have to know that conversion. But for you, Marcel, are you guys on e-commerce only, or?
Yeah, we're a direct-to-consumer company.
Okay, so talk a little bit about how you plan for that.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit difficult because my brand is heavily associated with me being an influencer. So we don't have a lot of marketing in place. Most of what we do is based on my following and my partner's following. With that, so our planning lies mostly on the influencer part. And like Becca said, the industry is very young. We don't really ever know where it's going because it's so flexible and so reliant on Instagram, the app, on the industry and how that's developing. So my plan is to just create better content, keep growing, and have my brand grow as a result of that. So it's also it's more of a side project, both my partner and myself. So the focus always remains with how do we grow as individuals, as personalities, and then hoping for the kickback from that backlots of the brand.
So currently, I guess I'll just talk about what our biggest challenges right now for Rose in planning is logistics. I don't want to bore you guys too much with the alcohol industry, but it's very regulated, it varies state by state, and it's just very complicated, and distribution can be such a nightmare. So we're really trying to plan out our distribution because obviously we want to grow, but we also have a limited supply, and so we're just trying to kind of plan our growth because that is very reliant or dependent on how much product you order for next year. And obviously with rosé, it's not like a red wine where you want it to age. It's really, you want to be drinking like this summer 2018, you want to be drinking 2017 vintage. 2016 vintage, you really should, like, brands shouldn't really have on the shelves right now. So it's really like very important for us to plan inventory, like very, very important, because wine is very expensive and it's a hassle to get over here, and the logistics are very much, like I said, very complicated. So right now we're really, really trying to focus on our growth and planning our growth, so then we can place our order for our 2018 vintage. And but again, like how do you perfectly predict your sales? It's like right now our focus is California, but obviously we want to be nationwide, but we don't know when that's going to happen or how many states or where. So it's honestly like such a guessing game, but we do have sales numbers and we do have an overall overarching plan of what, you know, a timeline of the next like year, 2 years, 3 years. But that's really like been our focus. It's just planning specifically so that we can decide how much wine we need to order. But distribution for us is definitely our biggest challenge, because none of us come from the wine industry whatsoever. And just like I said, state by state, it's so complicated and complex. So I just feel like I'm constantly learning so much and asking a million questions. Our importer is definitely like one of our larger mentors. So I think we've all touched on just asking questions and like asking people who you trust or who are an expert in that industry, and just like picking their brain until they're like so sick of you. And that's definitely like where we're at. We ask so many questions because we're all new and we're not experts, and we're never gonna pretend like we are. We're learning so much, and daily I'm like texting, calling him, I'm like, what should we do here? And he's been so monumental in helping us just really get our feet wet and get started and move forward.
Kind of like Marcel, I started as an influencer, but before I started my own brand, and it's definitely true. I realized throughout time that I am my biggest influencer for my brand, and even today I do desk sides with editors and all that. I'm the one that goes, and my husband's like, why don't you send someone? You don't have to be everywhere. I'm like, I know my brand better than anyone. I know the passion behind my brand. I know the passion behind my products. Ask me anything about why I'm creating each of the ingredients, and I will tell you. So, and I think people can really feel that, and that's why I say I'm my biggest influencer, because I created this from scratch because I felt there was a need. And for us, it's really hard to gauge 5 years in advance, because for us, it's like trends are constantly changing. We kind of have to figure out what the trend is going to be in 2 years, because just production alone takes 1 year. So you have to figure out what you want to create, and then once you get into it, it takes 2 years before anything hits the market for us. So gauging and projecting what the trend's going to be 2 years in advance is tricky. But for my brand in particular, for LC Cosmetics, we haven't really been a trending brand. And for me, it's been more of what do people need in their, what does the average girl need in her makeup kit? And I'm going to give them the best tool, the best product for that. And so because we haven't been so trendy, we've been very classic staple items that we've been able to kind of surpass that trend thing and be able to kind of create products that I know that people would always want.
Right. Yeah. All right, so before we open up to questions, one last thing that I want to ask you guys, because you are influencers or you started as influencers, how do you deal with competition? I know even I'm not an influencer, but even I sometimes you look at other people and you're like, geez, they're so much further ahead. How did that happen? How do you deal with that?
That's one question actually I always get. That's not something I ever really think about, but it's a question I always get, and it gets me thinking when they start asking, like, how do you deal with competition? I've seen this company and that company. It's like, for me, it's overwhelming to think about all that, and it distracts me from my focus. I want to be focused. I know what I'm doing. I know how to get there. I just need to stay focused, and so when I'm thinking about competition and different businesses around me, I'm distracted. And, you know, and read books. I think reading books and, you know, besides asking questions, there's books written by like experts on this. You know, Blue Ocean Strategy was a great book for me because it was like, okay, I'm not doing what everyone else is doing, but I'm on the right track. And it just gives you a validation from an expert who knows businesses and being an entrepreneur. And yeah, I think it's just my being staying focused and not looking left or right, because everyone has a different business goal. Everyone has a different like direction going in.
What about you? I've read your comments and it scares me. So how do you, people are crazy, but how do you deal with it? Especially because you were in a very public spotlight.
Yeah, you know, I think I've definitely just developed, I used to be the most like, took everything personally and most sensitive to a fault. And so I think it's it's actually been a really good thing for me personally to develop a thicker skin. I needed it. And if you're going to dive into business, like, you do need a thick skin. So I'm actually very thankful that I went through kind of a very public engagement and then a very public breakup, and just kind of like the dirt that kind of comes in between, and yeah, the nasty comments. But I think if I could give anyone any piece of advice, and I feel like I hear it a lot, but it's so important, is that there's room for everyone. Like, you don't need to compare, you don't need to compete with the person next to you. And I think Instagram in general, even if you're not launching a business, you're just on Instagram as a user, it's so easy to compare yourself and to compare your life. And I mean, I do it, we all do it, and it's just so important, like you mentioned the word focus, because it does, it distracts you, and it might take you down a route because you feel like you have to do more, and then you start doing that, and it totally takes you away from your goal in the beginning, and it takes away from your focus. So yeah, stay focused, don't compare, don't feel like you need to do it all. The people who appear to be doing it all probably aren't actually, and they're probably struggling and stressed, and so just
Everyone is stressed out.
Yeah. And just know that, yeah, there's room for everyone. Like, just because another influencer, for me, I'm from The Bachelor, so just because another Bachelor person is doing if they did a rose or a clothing line, it doesn't mean that you have to like crumble or like hide. It's like, there's room for everyone. Like, there's plenty of space, and everyone brings something unique to the table. So just always never forget that.
There's an excellent article, I think it's called 1,000 True Fans. I forget where it was published, somebody sent me a link. And it basically breaks down that you really just need 1,000 people to truly, only 1,000 people. I know 1,000 people is a lot of people, but if you think about how big America is, 1,000 people and 1,000 consumers is not that much. You need about 1,000 people to be able to like make a living. And back to what I said earlier, and what you just said, you gotta love what you do. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't be, I don't know, I think you shouldn't be doing it for the money. I think you should be doing it because you love doing it, and the money will come. And you don't have to be the first. That's why I'm not, much like Lilit, not at all competitive. On the influencer side, I'm friends with all my competitors. On the shoe side, I wear other sneakers, I wear other shoes. I'm not thinking about it that way. There's a meme, Michael Phelps, like, he won one of his, that's a great photo. He's about like a foot ahead of, yeah, all about that life. He's about a foot ahead of his competitor, like the second in place, and the caption read something, and you can see him looking forward, and the guy next to him is looking at Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
and the caption reads something like, winners focus on winning, losers focus on the winners. So like, don't focus on the competition. You go your own path, you know where you're gonna go. There's no, if you, of course, check them out, learn from them, but like, any negative feeling is just gonna hold you back, I think.
Totally.
It doesn't further your progress.
Love you.
So not to talk about Marcel for a second, but one of the reasons Marcel is actually very successful is because this exact state of mind and state of thinking. You know, we have other influencers that kind of sit, you know, under Marcel in terms of a following, and everyone's like, why is Marcel, you know, doing so well and I'm not? It's because you're focusing on Marcel and not on you. And Marcel focuses on himself, so I'm totally talking about you now. But I just love so much what you said, because I wish every single one of you in this room could focus on what makes you different, what makes your story, and not what is the person next to you doing. You know, at the end of the day, like when I started Social Life, there was no competition. You know, no one thought that bloggers would be a big business, and here I am. And today, everyone and their mother does influencer marketing. Every agency offers it. There's a talent agency that pops up every single day that's doing it. To me, I've been in it for 10 years. I was a blogger. I started an agency. You know, I've had people like Marcel with me since the beginning. I've had brands who've been with me since the beginning. You get to a level of like security and confidence where you're like, I know what I've built. My team is great. My talents are great. My clients are great, and that's it. And you focus on those people, and you do the best that you can every single day, and it's just one day at a time to do what you think you're doing best, and let everyone else worry about everything else.
So key takeaway is people who are in first place aren't looking behind them at those in second, and that those in second aren't worried about it because they're in first place in their own lane. Yeah. Okay, let's open it up to questions. Yes, go ahead.
So my question is for Beca. As
product. I do graphic design for influencers. Other than just like word of mouth, how do you gain clients? Because it's like, you know, I've got a lot of small clients and like one or two big fish in the pond. But obviously you don't want to push people to talk about your service even if they are happy about it. So how do you go about getting those clients?
So in general, just how do you get more clients? Is that the main question?
Yeah, well, when you have a service and you don't want to push your own service on your clients even if they're
Or
happy.
push your service.
Yeah. That's how I'm confused. I'm like, push your service. You are the best at what you do. Push it on
Well,
everyone.
I guess my question then is how do you do that without being rude or coming off as conceited?
Who cares?
So I think there's a difference between, you know, ego and confidence, right? And knowing what you're selling and what you're pushing and sort of not coming off as if you're pushing it. If you speak to people in a people way and you know exactly what you're selling and how you do the best and you're honest with them and you're direct with them, those people will gravitate towards you. You know, I think anyone that sort of works with us or with me specifically knows that I'm not afraid to say something negative, direct. I insult people all the time, not on purpose, but because I consistently tell my influencers that what they're doing is lazy or not good enough or needs to be redone, or like, you know, the point is you have to push forward and you have to sometimes tell clients that what they're doing isn't, you know, good. And I think when you tell people that in a confident way, people just gravitate towards you because you just sound like you know what you're talking about, even if you don't always know what you're talking about. It's that sort of like, you know, fake it till you make it mentality.
Just remember that you're the expert, right? When dealing with clients, I feel like you probably have this experience as well. Just you're the expert. If someone's asking you for design services, you tell them what they need to do because they're asking you for help. You are the expert. I think that's a really good way to frame it.
Can I add something to that? You believe in your product, whatever it is. So there's no shame in pushing it. It's like if you try awesome yogurt and you tell somebody like, oh, this is great yogurt. Like you're not pushing it on them. You're just passionately speaking about what you know is actually going to help them, like make their lives better. So you push not because you want to sell. You push because you think it's going to help them in some way or another. Oh, sorry. Bye.
Sorry to jump down your throat. Just kidding. Go ahead. Yes, you and stripes.
I have a question for the influencers. So, how do you leverage between your most loyal fans that generate those sales, and also like lead acquisition? So, like finding new customers that aren't attuned to your following, but maybe to your product.
I really like YouTube because YouTube is Google, and after Google, YouTube is the biggest search engine. It's a lot easier to reach new people there with content that's true to your platform. Instagram is really tough, so I don't have a good answer for you in that space, but like I think just going on another platform where you're a bit more open, where you can reach other people more easily with the content that you already do, with the support of the people that already support you. That's why I'm currently pursuing YouTube a lot, because that's, for me, the best option.
So I'm like so technically challenged. I probably should be doing more YouTube, especially just because video content is, I personally love video. It's, for me, it just does it a little bit more for me. But for us and Rose, we have kind of gone the route of, obviously like I have a following, but like you said, it's also really important to reach new people. And we have partnered with a lot of brands, so brands that I love and that I use, whether it's, you know, we worked with a company called Skin Laundry. We did an event there at their 5 locations across the US. We just launched a partnership I mentioned with Saucy, which is the online delivery app, which is awesome. You guys should all download it if you don't have it, because
Please do. It's my husband's company also.
yeah, which is crazy. Her husband's one of the co-founders, which is
We did not know that until last night.
yeah. But I think like strategic partnerships and just working with companies and collaborating and doing fun events or content, I think you know, they will have the opportunity to reach your audience and then vice versa. So that's kind of the route that we've been focusing on right now. And then obviously like we're looking into doing video and going onto other platforms as well.
You're YouTube. Oh, you have quite a big YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I'm not as
active on YouTube as I have on Instagram. I do. I try to stay committed. I've scheduled myself every Thursday, 12 o'clock, rain or shine, I'm there. And I film it, and and I try to figure out what my viewers want, and obviously create content around that. But I think networking is, ultimately, I think networking is the most important thing, to be able to connect with beauty influencers, but also different types of influencers. Beauty and fashion and all this, like lifestyle, it all goes together. So networking, I think for me, is key, and also just being on several platforms. I think because different platforms have different types of audience, and Facebook used to be something we were all on, and now it's coming back. But at some point, my mom got on Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'm over Facebook, I'm onto Instagram. But every market, like Pinterest and YouTube and Instagram and all these, having your own blog and having that dedicated space, I think it's just networking and being like everywhere all the time.
I think that's true, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's true for anyone who's an entrepreneur. Being around more entrepreneurs is probably the most valuable thing that we can all do, because we're all going through the same things, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and it goes back to, like, instead of focusing on the competition, focus on the relationships, because like she said, there's room for everyone. There's, you can wear more than one brand of shoe, you can wear more than one brand of makeup. We're all, we love beauty, we love fashion, and we're not limited to one thing, nor are we limited to one thing in anything that we do. So I think, focusing on keeping those relationships, facilitating relationships, and doing collaborations is probably the best bet.
Hi, so my question is about like initial investment when it comes to like being an influencer. Like before you start your brand, when you're starting out as an influencer, did you guys require an initial investment? And if so, what was that for? Was it to like grow a team or, yeah?
Okay, I'll start. I was looking over. I started 5.5 years ago. My investment was getting a camera, which now you honestly don't even need anymore. iPhone's definitely good enough. There's enough tutorials on YouTube on how to actually properly edit your photos, so like, no need for that. I started vlogging with my ex-girlfriend, so we were in the beneficial position that I could shoot her, she could shoot me, so there was no need for any team. Beca took her agency fee, so I didn't have to pay her. There really isn't anything. There's a very low entry to vlogging or influencing, term I don't like. But right now there's other things that are significantly more troublesome. That's like the amount of competition, the Instagram algorithm. There's other things that I think now maybe require some money, like actually promoting your content, because you know your content is good, but you can't get it seen anymore. So
those algorithms.
Huh?
Those algorithms.
Oh, they're
constantly changing.
So the direction social life, like our agency, you know what I'm saying. Performance marketing, so literally putting dollars behind content to use Facebook to push it out to an audience that you know is going to be interested in it, is something that I would, especially starting out, consider now.
So let's kind of tweak that, because I think it could answer a bigger question for everybody. Becca, for you specifically, if you were to tell a blog, someone who wants to start a blog now, where they should be spending those digital like ad buy dollars, where would that be? Because I think that's probably a bigger question here. Like, do I need $1,000? Do I need $20,000? Where is that, and how should they be looking at it? Maybe give some tips on tools that they should be using.
So you guys will all hate me after I say this, but all of you guys who are potentially considering starting to become an influencer or how to become an influencer, stick to your job, stay in school, and just understand that it is very, 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 very difficult now to grow and get to a very specific level. You know, I've had influencers who've been blogging for 5 years who still come to me and they're like, when am I gonna be Ami? And I'm like, unfortunately, you will never be Ami. And that's okay, you know, not everyone has to be Ami, and it's not about how many dollars you can spend to get to that level. And where the space is right now is actually very interesting, because brands don't care as much about how many followers you have. They care very much about your story, who you are as an individual, how you're creating content, how high quality that content is, and if you reach an audience. It doesn't matter how big that audience is, it's who are they and how engaged are they with So if it's, what?
Isn't that so true? Someone with 8,000 followers could sell out a product in 2 seconds because of what that specific.
Exactly, it's those 8,000 people that will matter, not those, 800,000 or those 8 million. The one thing that I would suggest to all of you guys is actually spend money on creating a really, really good media kit. Making sure that you have a way to present yourself that's different. Make sure that you have a website that shows who you are. Make sure that you're spending money to, create proposals for brands. That's the one thing we don't really see anymore in the space, is every influencer thinks that they deserve money, but the question is, why do you deserve money over another influencer that has an equal amount of following? And
Provide value, basically. What
exactly,
is your
provide
worth?
value and find a way to show that value in a different way. Like, we get emails every single day from influencers that are like, add me to your network, and I'm like, this is the worst email I've ever seen. Like, you don't even know how to write a complete sentence. Please stay in school. This is a terrible media kit. Just like spend $300 and hire a graphic designer.
There's a graphic designer over here, by the way.
Sure. Guys, everyone get her contact info. That is so important, or influencers that don't know how to put together a creative brief. When we email them, we say, hey, we're working with this brand, give us your idea on how you promote this product. And people are like, and then they send us content from someone else where they're like, I'm gonna do this. And we're like, no, then we're just gonna hire that person. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And the reason I say stick to your job is because if you have a job that you love and you just create content on the side for whatever following you have, that makes you different than everyone else who's just crossing the street 100 times to take that one photo of them crossing the street, in the most natural way.
I also think, just adding to that too, I think that everyone here needs to think about what is going to happen, or what would happen, hypothetically, if Instagram were to shut down tomorrow.
That's my favorite topic.
I feel like we're going to have lots of
I know,
conversations.
because what I'm really worried about in general is people who dropped out of high school or dropped out of college at 20, who were an influencer for a couple of years, and something happens, right? We don't know what happens, and they're unable to make money, and et cetera, and then there's going to be this influx of people who don't have marketable skills going into the job force. And on their resume, it's going to be like, I was a blogger from 2012 to 2017.
My recommendation, actually, if you want to become an influencer and actually make money from that, is consider applying to companies, whether they're early stage startups or in the future, where you create content for that brand.
Great.
You actually have a marketable skill, number one, and number two, you actually are going to be making money doing what you love, right? Yes. Sorry, your hand keeps going up. I miss you.
Last question.
Hi, my name is
I think you can find us all afterwards. Are you guys staying for a little bit? So anyone who has any questions, feel free to bum rush the stage.
So I am just starting to understand my brand, and by just starting to understand my brand, I mean I'm really trying to figure it out. I haven't been out in social media or anything like that for a long time for a very specific reason, personal to me. I'm a musician. So my question for you is how do I figure out what to put first? My music is who I am, but now my life has become something that's very, I want to talk about that, but it's not relating to music. And then what happened in my life, I want to create a product. It's I'm at the beginning, so how would I start who am I online to you?
I think that last question you asked was something you have to figure out first, who you are, and put that first, put you first. It's about you before it's about your business and your music or anything else. So have people get to know you, they fall in love with you, and then they will fall in love with everything else that you represent. That's my opinion.
There's a really great book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek that I would recommend. It really comes down to what the purpose is behind what you're doing. What is your personal purpose? And from there, everything, will continue moving forward.
I would assume that your music's somewhat related to your personal story. That's not.
Sort of.
Sort of. But so yeah, figure out you can shape your online persona a little bit, but right now I think there's a big trend of just being who you are and being real, because that's a story that doesn't have any loopholes because you didn't make it up. So I don't know, I think you have to think less about what you create and just it's just let's focus on figuring out who you are, because that's the answer to your question, I think.
So I'm going to say the opposite, and I don't think it's about figuring out who you are. I don't think any of us will ever figure out who we fully are because we're consistently evolving and growing and changing based on our experiences. I think the most successful influencers right now are the ones who tell the full story. So if you can find a way to tell it all, that's the way to go. There's a reason that lifestyle has become a trend, right? We're no longer just beauty or just fashion or just food or just music or etc. The influencers that are doing really well showcase their entire life because your guys' generation, who was obsessed with reality TV at one point, is now looking to influencers to become the reality TV like sort of stars of Instagram or of social platforms. The more you can share, the more you're comfortable sharing, the better off you're going to be. And if eventually music becomes, you know, the thing or fashion becomes the thing, it'll naturally come as you showcase it all and as your followers or readers or your more engaged, you know, audiences tell you what they're into more.
Well, okay, so let's ask really last question.
Caroline Freeland, do you know her? Okay, check her out. I think, and kind of like analyze what she went through because she just now released her first single and she did it in a very seamless way. Like it was a perfect extension to her personal brand. So Caroline Freeland, V-R-E-E land. I gotta spell that.
Okay, well, where can everyone find you? Are you Instagram only? Go ahead.
I'm Lilit Caradanian across all channels, so it's just my name, last name.
Perfect.
And my brand is LC Cosmetics.
I'm Bushnell, and my company is Dear Rosé Wines on Instagram. Y'all should check it out.
And order it on Saucy.
And order it on Saucy. It's really delicious. I just had a glass right now. So, yeah. I feel like, no, thank you all for coming. It means a lot.
And Marcel,
Yeah,
find you.
Instagram primarily Marcel Floruss. It's a German last name, so if you don't know how to spell that, don't feel bad about it. And on YouTube it's One Dapper Street. That's the name of my blog. That's how I started out. I don't know how many of you wear men's shoes, but maybe your boyfriends or brothers do. My shoe company is called Akari Floruss, so my business partner's last name is Akari. Mine is Floruss.
But I feel like I want to wear those though. Could I, like,
Yeah, we
I feel
don't
like
know.
women.
I know. Like we
You
actually
should
have
just
people
make,
with
like,
women's
small-
yeah. It's
I would wear those.
What about you, Beca? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm a size 7. Thank you.
Where can we find you?
So I'm Beca Alexander. I'm actually the worst Instagrammer ever. I haven't Instagrammed in 8 months, but I'm still on there. You can see.
What about website? How about that?
On social life, my email is actually on my platform. If you guys have any questions, I respond to everyone because you guys are the future, and you know I'd rather build a relationship with you guys now before you explode and become the next amazing influencers or entrepreneurs or et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Awesome. Thank you guys.